Welcome to another episode of the Flag Stays Down podcast. Boys, we got double wins. We got a full house. Can't be much better of a week. We got myself, Andy. We got Matt. We got Parker. Parker, how you doing?
I'm great, man. Like you said, double wins, and it's just good vibes over here at the Gross household. So everything's pretty much ready to go. My wife is off of work until February officially, which is wild. She's never had like 2 weeks off in her life, and now she's literally gone for 3 months. And we're on like any day now kind of time frame. So it's wild stuff here. So yeah, we're good. Feel ready-ish, trying to coordinate when people can come see us because we've got parents trying to figure that out. And we're like, well, it's not as easy as just driving by. So we got to kind of coordinate this a little bit better and kind of think through it. And like, selfishly, we want to spend some time, just the three of us, right? Like we just want to get a little bit of a schedule going, get a little bit of figuring it out on our own, and just have that new kiddo bonding time. So it's a lot to balance, but you know what? We'll figure it out. I sent the big email to all my colleagues and said like, see you later. And that's not the best time of the year to do that. And I was like, thanks, we'll see you soon. And I'll be back shortly. But so it's all good here, guys. I just love that it's like sports season. And so I feel like when kiddos taking naps, it's going to be sports all day, every day. Today's like literally one of the best sports days of the year with game 3 of the World Series on. You got Monday Night Football on. I think there's like 10 NBA games on today and a bunch of hockey. So it's great. I got nothing to complain about. I'm in a good mood. Collins, you can breathe easy today. I'm in a good mood. Matt, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. I hope in your email you went full Ron Swanson. If you guys need anything at all, handle your problems yourselves like adults. That's I've used that line at work and it is fantastic. No, I'm doing good. Yeah, all things are good over here. Good weekend. Just kind of hung out, did some stuff around the house. We had trick or treating in the neighborhood, so we did an impromptu night trick or treat in the neighborhood. We had gotten home from doing some apple picking with some friends, and my wife took the dogs on a walk, and all of a sudden she comes home and she goes, "Hey, get Miles in his costume because we're going trick-or-treating right now." To my surprise, I'm like, "What happened?" She goes, "Well, 3 blocks away, the the neighborhood just does like a night trick or treat." I was like, "Okay." So we just put him in the wagon and kind of took care of that. So he got to see all the decorations and he had himself a blast. And Sunday we just did handing out candy. So we just sat at the end of the driveway with all the other houses on the block. Had a fire going behind us and just enjoyed the weather. Little man slept through half of it, which was even better. So I didn't have to really go walk up and down with him again. So it was good. Just hanging out and handing out candy. So good times all around. Collins, how was your weekend, man?
It was good. It was good. But Parker, I do just want to say, make sure, maybe this is just a me thing, but day after Aiden was born, Chelsea played. And I will forever remember watching it. He doesn't remember, obviously. He was sleeping in my arms. But no, I watched Chelsea and it was 4-3. They played Sunderland. I remember because Josie Altidore scored, but Hazard had a brace. So it was a great match. So enjoy those things while you're off. Blend both worlds there. But no, weekend's good. Matt, like you, trick or treating. I go trick or treating, but I get all the candy because my son has braces now. So that's been a plus. Then back to the grind at work and watching Chelsea. So I can't complain. It was a busy week. Busy week this week. We had Conference League at Panathinaikos, the feared Panathinaikos. Shout out to all of our Greek fans. And then a win over Newcastle. We'll start in the Conference League where we are top of the table, soon to be league champions, I hope. But boys, what are your takeaways from midweek?
Sounds like I think it's funny because I think Clear Lake's gotten a lot of flack over the past 18 months of ownership or however long they've owned the team. And then when we can put out literally a full second team that looks and feels and attacks the way that ours does, I think people are starting to appreciate the vision of having this behemoth of a second squad at our helm. No, I think I think the big standout, three big standouts for me were Mudryk. Sounded like he had a really nice game. Joao Felix also played very well. And then the one big surprise for me, boys, which I'm curious how you think about this, is Cucurella played. And I did not expect to see his name on the sheet because I thought we would save him for Newcastle. So curious what you think about Cucurella going forward if he's kind of been demoted to this B squad. I don't want to call it a demotion to B squad. I think, squad rotation is a thing, and depending on the situations and how we want to switch things up midweek versus in the league, we'll be at our fearless leader's decision and discretion. But a little bit of a standout for me there.
Yeah, it's interesting that you call that out. Obviously, we had the yellow card suspension against Liverpool with Fofana and Cucurella. I'm okay with that. I think with kind of who we had back there, right? That's kind of our B squad as far as defense. You need somebody who has been solid for us, and I think he is that guy. So I think somebody who can more or less kind of help lead that back line and kind of things are in good hands if he's going to be out there. I'm fine with it. Like I wasn't overly surprised again because Malo Gusto can only do so much, right? Like he can't play both left and right back. Viega's out there too. Maybe just coming off the kind of shaky the shaky performance that he had. It could have been maybe something like that. Just maybe just a little bit more training or whatever the case is. You know what, we can play the speculation all day and night. I'm fine with it. I was happy to see Mudryk contribute the way that he did. We talk a lot about him and his opportunities, what he can do. I think this just shows that he has kind of that he has that next level that we're all waiting for him to get to. It's the consistency that we're waiting on. But to see him go out with the squad, and it's a very creative squad that you have when you throw in the likes of, Nkunku, Felix, Neto, and Mudryk. Like there's just so many options and so many things that can happen. So I like it, and it was good to see, his contributions paid big dividends at the end. And Collins, I know you had the question of where the goal is going to come from if Nico and Palmer aren't there. I don't think that's an issue. And I think we kind of said this earlier, like we have so many options. It's just a matter of who's going to get on the score sheet at this point. But Parker, you're spot on. It's nice having the kind of weapons that we have to be able to say, yeah, this is not our everyday 11. This is our kind of backup 11 slash, A1, A2 team. And it is lethal. And I think them alone, just the team that we put out there, they're built to handle the conference league just fine as is and get through this group stage, which allows, some of our bigger names to rest. And, one of them being Cole Palmer, he's not even on the conference league sheet. And that's a big thing. You need him to come out and perform. And, he will get into it later, but he continues to do so in those moments. So I think the squad rotation, the man management, I think it's all there, and I think it's all coming together at the right time right now.
Yeah, and we've talked pretty in depth in terms of the attack. Having the squad depth that we have is an asset. I think in defense it helps just as well. I don't think it's necessarily Cucurella was demoted. I think it's playing the matchups. You needed a little bit of leadership in that game in Greece with a relatively young team, relative inexperienced this season team. Whereas going up against Newcastle on the weekend, you're going to have Almiron coming down that wing, who Cucurella struggled with mightily last year. So no, I think absolutely it was more of a, well, we'll get him in now because we're not going to need him on the weekend. We'll have Reece James, Malo Gusto handle those wingers at Newcastle. So again, like you both said, squad rotation, squad depth, big pluses for us. And Cucurella was a big part of that, as was Mudryk on the weekend. Then, it's just about building those reps, building that chemistry. So good on the manager for rotating.
One thing I wanted to bring up to you guys, I don't know if you caught this or not, but I'll read you a little bit of a quote when Enzo was asked about Mudryk. He said, "We want the best for Misha. Since day one, we were trying to help Misha. Probably for him, he's one of those guys that the learning process is more slow compared to the rest. but he's improving. I'm sure that slowly we will have Misha scoring more goals and being important for us. Kind of a backhanded compliment ish. Curious you guys take.
The man doesn't mince words. I think we're very clear about that. And he's calling it how he sees it. Like Misha's not doing the things that will get him those first team minutes. He's just not getting it. He's not, kind of up to the pace of everybody else right now. Well, maybe not up to the pace. He's got more pace than damn near anybody, but he's just not hitting that learning curve as steep as everybody else is. And again, it's something new. It takes time for different people, right? Like not everybody's going to pick it up first time, which is why players get sold and why players get iced out and blah, blah, blah. It's just the nature of it. So I'm fine with it. I think we're all in agreement. Like we know the potential is there for him. It's just a matter of when he's going to hit it. And I think if he's making good strides like he did in the game in Greece, I'm perfectly fine with that. Like we have enough weapons to, I think, let him develop and not just say, hey, go out on the pitch and do something. I think now we can get him in a system that he will have time to adapt to and time to thrive in. So I'm perfectly okay with the comments, and I think he's kind of spot on with what we're seeing out of Mudryk so far.
Yeah, and Mudryk, the more I think about it, he's basically had 2 lost seasons here. He's playing in a very subpar European league and the Ukrainian league. Came over halfway through the year and played maybe half the games, right? We were pretty much out of European competition by that point. I think he might have featured as a sub in knockout stages. Last year, he played maybe half the games. We didn't have Europe, so it was kind of just cup games. This is the year where he's kind of building his chops. This is basically his loan year, his internal loan year. So he's going to play those games that maybe a little bit lower on the scale, the cup games. That now, God, if we run the gauntlet here, it's going to be what, 20 European games. So he's going to get a nice little bump from that. So this is the year that I expect to see him develop. Next year, we should be seeing the fruits of those labors. But yeah, it's just about, we talked about this with several players, Pulisic, Mudryk, on and on and on. These are guys who need consistent reps. These are guys who need consistent good showings to build that confidence. He's a confidence guy. So this year's perfect for him. And yeah, the learning curve might be a little slow, but his development in the football aspect might be a little stunted.
We all know how Pulisic's doing this year. Holy shit, that kid's on freaking fire.
Lukaku also tears up that league.
Fair. I stand down.
He's still playing.
Before we leave the topic, I did want to just quickly say it was great to see Cassetti, Chukwuemeka, Gue, and Tyreek George all get minutes as subs in a game. So I like, as weird as it sounds, I kind of like this lesser of a competition where it's not as serious and we can use our B squad ish and then rotate some folks in, get a lot of guys some minutes, and good to see those names kind of come back on the sheet.
So turning to the upper competition, the Premier League, 2-1 over the weekend over Newcastle, courtesy of goals of Nico Jackson and Cole Palmer. We talked a little bit about Cucurella at left back, not featuring in this one. Reece James was at left back. Parker, what did you make of Reece James on the opposite flank?
I was baffled by it, especially because the left wing back has typically been the one that goes forward in our inverted system, but we didn't do that. So we had Reece go to the left, and then we put Malo Gusto on the right, and Gusto was, as I deem him, the chaos player who pops up everywhere, and just kind of causes mayhem, right? So I don't know what the mentality is there. I know Reece is coming back from injury, so you don't want to run him too hard. It was good to see him get 90. Was kind of expecting him to come off 75 minutes, but good to see him get the full 90 in. Seems like he's back up to fitness. I love when Reece James comes back and Twitter explodes, and we are reminded of how good he can be and just how calm on ball he can be, and just like his presence does a lot out there. But the left side, mentioned Almiron earlier, Collins. It's like we needed someone to keep up with him and shut him down, and he was relatively quiet for most of the game. So thought Reece did a good job, and the other comments, speaking of Maresca comments, that was brought up is Reese's leadership and his leadership style. And he wants more out of his leader. He wants his leader to be more vocal, both on the pitch and in the locker room. You talked about guys like Levi Colwell stepping up and becoming more of a leader, but the guy who wears the armband needs to have that presence too. And that's, I believe the quote was, missing from the fabric of his team right now. So I'm curious to see how Reese kind of deals with that. Reese kind of has that stoic stature of his presence, and he kind of has let his ball do the talking for the most part. Sounds like Maresca wants a little bit different of an approach, so I'm kind of curious to see how he adapts. But I thought his on play or on field play was perfect. As someone who's coming back from injury, it was great to see him back. Great to see him feature for a full 90, and he did really well. And then I love the fact that we still can like switch people around, right? I think Gusto came off, and then we shifted Ruiz over to the right, and it's like great. We can be flexible, and we've talked about flexibility of this team a lot on this podcast, but great to see it in action where we can rotate some guys around.
Yeah, I didn't mind Reese at left back. Parks, like you, I was confused, I think would probably be the right word. Perplexed. So what is going on? Has Reese just not been around that long that he forgot that he plays on the right side and the left? Did Maresca forget? Whatever the case is. Gusto has become very good as that N'Golo Kante, hi, I'm here to fuck your shit up, like type player. He's become very good at it. And I think that was probably the plan, is you can't have Gusto on the left because you do have the threat of Miguel Almiron bombing down that right. And I think that kind of takes away from Gusto's ability to defend. I think it kind of hampers him in that regard. But I was fine with Reese just kind of focusing a little bit more on the defensive. I think that was good for him. I think that's good for kind of his recovery that he's doing right now. Like, you don't want him bombing up and down and everywhere on when he's coming back from injury and stuff like that. So I think it made sense from that perspective. I wasn't expecting much from the left side from Newcastle. So I think it made sense. I think it was a good matchup play. And like you said, we have the ability to switch when we need to and switch sides of the pitch. So I'm perfectly okay with that. Do I want to see it often? No, but I think in this scenario it worked. So I'm glad that it did. But yeah, it was very interesting to see that when we first started.
And I think what helps is putting Pedro Neto in front of him. Had he been on that right side with Noni, he's not getting any help defensively. So as much as it is probably matching Almiron over Harvey Barnes in terms of which winger he's defending, it's also about where can he also get some help. He's got Lavia in front of him, Colwell next to him, Neto in front of him. That's a much better defensive group than Fofana, Caicedo, and Noni. Nothing against Caicedo, but the other two are suspect. So no, I want to give the coaching staff credit, because I think, and again, we're only a very small sample size into Reece James's return, but the management of his return from injury is already leaps and bounds better than previous regimes, where it was, all right, go back in, do what you were doing before. Like, we need you to pretty much pick up exactly where you left off. No, I liked Reece James in a little bit more of a reserve role. But speaking of the wingbacks, I do want to ask the question, because I saw this floating around on Twitter. People seem to be ripping Malo Gusto a new one as of late. He seems to have dropped down the fan pecking order. I didn't see anything that he necessarily did wrong in this game, nor have I for the last couple of weeks. I know going forward, he's not the biggest threat, but he still has quite a few wingers in his back pocket. So are you guys seeing any cause for concern with Malo Gusto?
Just his shot. He can't get a ball on target, like, to save his life. And they're good opportunities that he misses by a lot. It's just that's it for me.
I think the thing is, when he's playing in that type of role, you're looking at the risk reward. And Parker, you're going to love this. You're giving up a lot by having him play more forward, you're giving up the ability to have a serviceable ball delivered in. But what you're getting out of having that is you get all the chaos in the midfield. You get everything that stops attacks coming back towards us. So you really have to weigh those options, right? Is it worth it in the long run? Yes, I think it is. He'll put in a decent ball every now and again. It's not the level of like a Reece James or anything like that, but that's a sacrifice you have to make if you want to play this system, right? He's done his job very well. That's the role that he's in right now, is just to go and just mess everything up, right? Cause confusion, panic, all sorts of just trouble. He's doing that fantastic. His end product, not the greatest, but what he doesn't have in that, he makes up for it in other aspects of his game. Like, you're not going to get a full, I would be shocked even if Reece can do this same level, even if he's fully fit, because Gusto has a ridiculous engine on him. And I know Reece does too, but coming back from injury and stuff like that, it's going to take him a while to get up to speed on that. And even when he does, like, yeah, you're going to hopefully get both, but if you have him attacking so much, then you might lose a little bit in that chaos in the midfield. So it's a give take relationship, and I think where Gusto is right now, I think that's perfect for him. And we have plenty of other creators who can put a ball in and do what needs to be done. It doesn't always have to fall to him. And even if we're talking about like bad service, our wingers don't always have the best service either. Like, let's just be honest about that. Cole Palmer has the best by far. And then it's kind of a horse apiece after that, right? Like, there's no real clear cut after Cole Palmer. So there's plenty of blame on who can put in the next best serviceable ball. There's plenty of discussion up for that. But Gusto's doing his job well. I don't understand the criticism. Just do what he does.
And I'm okay with, 1 out of every 10 balls being a decent XG being put in the box by Gusto, because this is no longer just the Reece James show. Our offense for a very long time was give it to Reece James, see what he can do. We've got players now like Pedro Neto who can put in a good ball, add some speed in there. Neto being a newcomer, Lavia going from a non-existent made-up player to a real player this year. We basically got 2 new signings there. What kind of impact, how do you rate their impact so far this season and in this game?
Collins, why don't you start us off this one?
Well, I've said it from the first moment I saw Pedro Neto in a Chelsea shirt. I like this guy. He has no fear. He'll make runs. He'll make smart runs. He doesn't make Mudryk runs. Smart runs. He puts in a decent cross. I love the fire that he has, especially I don't know if you guys have seen the video of his reaction to setting up Nico Jackson's goal, but dude is just on fire. And Lavia, I think he's kind of like an offensive lineman. If you don't notice him, he's doing a good job. And I don't notice Lavia a whole ton. He's just kind of a rock back there. I think he pairs well with Caicedo. I still would like to see how a midfield 3 would work, but it is what it is. Those 2 guys are both playing very well.
Yeah, I agree. Neto is like the definition of fun. He just is. And when we first signed him, we all said this is going to be a big signing. He hasn't yet made the impact that we thought that he would instantly, but he's coming into his own. When you start looking at now everybody that we have, who's your top wingers right now? It's up for conversation, right? Sancho was playing extremely well. Neto was starting to play well. Mudryk had, a good match in Greece. Noni's been doing his thing. Palmer is just kind of floating out there. Oh yeah, we also have João Felix. We also have Christopher Nkunku just on the bench, just in case. Like, it is ridiculous. And I love the fact that we can just kind of play the hot hand and then just go from there. And I think that's going to further drive competition with these guys, because let's be honest, they're wingers. They all come from teams where they had some sort of celebrity status. They all had probably high price tags associated with them. They're going to have a bit of an ego. Like, if they're not out there on the starting 11, they're going to want to get better. They're going to want to prove that, no, it should be my spot. That's just going to drive competition. I think that's going to be really good. It helps that we do have all the matches, all the European matches, everything with EFL and the other domestic cups. there's plenty of opportunity to play. But when it comes to, those games, I love that we can play the hot hand and just go from there. I don't even mind Neto on the right. Like he can do it from there too. He's very dangerous. He's very dynamic, and Lavia is just playing well. He's not doing anything like great. He's not doing anything wrong. He's doing what we paid him to do. And that's just lock down defenders, break up plays, and distribute the ball. He's doing a very good job of that so far. And he's only, 21? He's 24. He's young. Like, he's still coming into his own. We know what he did at Southampton. He can ball. And we're starting to see like why we paid for him and why we had so much hope in, what he can do when he is healthy.
What's interesting is last year it got talked about every single week how young our team was. Every single week we talked about the big signings, the amount of money, and how young our team was. We don't really hear about that anymore. And guess what? We still have the youngest team in the Premier League. I saw we broke a record of first team in Premier League history to not play somebody over the age of 28 in the first, what are we at, 9 games or whatever in the league. I don't know if we have a player over 28 on the roster. We sold her too. It was Sterling and it was Benny Chills is 27. I looked that up. And it was Thiago Silva. I'm not sure that we have a player over 28, so we might go a long time breaking this record. As Collins looks this up so he can fact check me. It's just funny how the narratives change when things are happening at Chelsea. And I'm enjoying what we're seeing because this team feels more settled in a lot of ways. It doesn't feel as variable. We're also not competing with 14 injuries, which is one of the reasons why I thought Poch got sacked too soon, because he had to deal with a lot of that. But that's not a topic for today, so we're not going to bring that up. I'm just going to casually just slide it in just so Colin yells at me later. But Lavia, when I look at him and I watch him play, he reminds me of Big Les, Leslie Ugochukwu, but just a lot better. Like, he just does a lot of the same things, just a lot better. Big Les was great, did his job, just kind of made more mistakes and wasn't as good at it. And it's just funny how it feels like a pure upgrade in the position. And we still have Big Les if we need him. So Lavia as kind of a rotational guy in that position, I like him. We can pick kind of the lineup, because right now I see Caicedo as like cemented in, and then who we pair him with is depending on who we kind of go up against, whether we need to be a little bit more attack minded or a little bit more defense minded, because I think Enzo gives us more creativity going forward and Lavia gives us more stability in the defense. So that's a luxury, man. That is just a really, really nice to have that not a lot of teams have the ability to put out there and throw out there. So I'm loving that. And you guys talked about Neto at length, and I don't need to add much to there. It's just an absolute battle for that left winger spot and for the right, because as Noni's done a lot, and I think Noni plays really well, and I really enjoy what he does most of the time. It's a dogfight. No one is safe. If we kind of go through our lineup and say like who has to start, there's not a ton of people on that list. But I will just quickly tip my cap to Nico Jackson, because I thought Nico was fantastic. Again, his hold up play was fantastic. He eats a lot. He does a lot for us. And I thought it was actually really funny that the commentator brought up the fact that Nico would have missed that shot last year. He did. He said it. Whether or not that's true, I mean, it was pretty much an open goal. But you know what? We don't even think about it. He just slots it home and we go away with it, right? So it's nice that he's developing and he played well. He also played a nearly inch perfect ball to Palmer earlier in that match. Palmer was about a centimeter offside on. That's an area of his game we haven't seen at all. And boy, received the pass, turn, pivot pass was delicious. I mean, that's a highlight reel assist for him if Palmer was onside, which he was very, very close to being. So tip my cap. I give props where they're due.
So to give props,
say it, Collins, say it.
Nico
Who
Jackson
is the one player who is over 28 years old on the Chelsea roster? Say it.
Yeah, if your guy, our fifth string goalkeeper, will ever make his second career Chelsea appearance. Marcus Bettinelli. He's 32 years old.
Watch your back, Sanchez. Coming in hot on your heels.
I do want to real quick highlight Bettinelli's stats this year. 0 games, 0 goals conceded, 0 goals, 0 assists, 1 yellow card. Well done.
The man is there for the team. Absolutely. Impeccable stat line.
Now to a guy who has a real impeccable stat line. It's Cole Palmer. We touched a little bit on him already, but the guy's magic. We don't need to touch so much on his performance in the match because it was unreal. As always, it's becoming expected at this point. I do want to talk about him in the Ballon d'Or rankings this year. Those came out today, the 28th, as of recording here. Cole Palmer finishes 25th in the short list of Ballon d'Or shortlist candidates. I don't have a good way to phrase that, but some interesting names above him. Of course, the winner is Rodri out of Man City, with Vinny Jr. and Jude Bellingham taking 2-3, depending on what sources you look at here. Cole Palmer, of course, what did he have? 5 goal contributions last year? Something like that. Again, taking 25th, playing in the second best, according to UEFA league in Europe. Dude, should we just go line by line here? And gun to your head, did he have a better season then?
Yeah.
All right. So of course, as I mentioned, Cole Palmer 25th. Right above him, William Saliba from Arsenal. This one's it's tough defender against against the forward.
I could see it. I could see
I
it.
do want to just say
He's been playing very well. I know every single time I watch any Premier League game, they're talking about, Saliba and Gabriel is like the new best center back pairing or whatever, but Saliba's been playing very well. So I could see it. I wouldn't, not that I agree with it, just my own personal bias, but I could understand it. Although I do think they both then should be higher.
Yeah, it's not an egregious one for me.
Yeah, again, the defender comparison is weird for me. I would put him ahead because Arsenal also won nothing last year. So level playing field, goals and assists, beat out somebody who took second. Above that, another defender, Ruben Dias from Man City. Same argument.
Yeah.
And above him, another defender, our guy, Tony Rudiger. Did Palmer have a better season than Tony?
I would go Palmer over Rudiger in that scenario.
It's so funny how Rudiger, balls out for Chelsea, plays well. He's part of a team that, competes in Europe and does all the things, and then no one talks about him for a Ballon d'Or at all. And then he goes and does the exact same thing for Real Madrid. Arguably plays against weaker week in and week out competition and still balls out. Like, he still plays really well. Like, he's still the same guy. And now, now we got to talk about him as one of these guys. Like, to me, did he have any better of a season than he had at Chelsea? Like, no. And he wasn't even on this list when he played for Chelsea. So I think it's a little bit shit.
It is a Real Madrid bias. Real Madrid had 6 players in the final 30. So half their lineup ending in the final 30. All right, here's a good one here. Number 21, Arsenal's own Bukayo Saka. Cole Palmer better season than Saka?
I would say yes, because everybody was calling for Saka to basically be benched for Cole Palmer during the Euros because Saka was not doing anything. Well, him and Phil Foden, who we'll talk about later on this list. No, for me, Palmer leaps and bounds.
Yeah, I think Palmer clearly had a better Premier League season than him. The only argument you could make is he was starting to find his way into the Europe team, where Saka has been a mainstay in the Europe team. But you could argue that Cole's 1 goal in the semis, right, was bigger than anything Saka did. Like, you could argue just the 1 goal should place him above him. So, and couple that with his Premier League season. I mean, you can't compare the stats. Cole destroys him.
Yeah. Saka finishes with 27 goals. I'm sorry, that was Cole Palmer. Saka finishes with 20 goals, 14 assists. We're at 27 and 15. They both played about 47, 48 games. All right.
This is a name game.
Absolutely. Next on the list is a name I can't pronounce, so we're going to skip him. Turkish guy from Inter. Martin Odegaard at 19. Palmer, better or worse?
Wasn't he injured for a few months, Odegaard?
That was my thought, is that he missed a pretty significant part of the season.
Yeah.
I'm smelling some Arsenal bias on this list because Arsenal had a pretty good Premier League season last year. I don't know. I think that's really all it is.
To me, I think it's slightly different positions. I say slightly because you can argue that Odegaard is kind of like a 10, and Palmer is kind of in that role now, where before he was more so just playing on the right wing. But definitely Palmer is more in the attack than I think Odegaard is. Odegaard, I think, is, the one more or less kind of pulling the strings. So slightly different roles and different players. I don't see him being higher than Cole, and especially as high as he is on this list.
So we're going to skip a few. Emi Martinez is at 18. I think best, quote unquote, best goalkeeper in the world. Fair at 18.
He can go fuck himself though. I hate Emi Martinez.
Fair. Fede Valverde gets Real Madrid treatment at 17. Granit Xhaka gets a bump because Leverkusen won the Bundesliga. Nico Williams at 15, playing for Bilbao.
That's riding Spain coattails on that one. That's the only thing that I can see. Like, he had a decent season with Bilbao, but no, he got his bump because of Spain.
Yeah, Nico Williams, 8 goals, 19 assists in 37 games. So I think probably another one that Palmer passes there. Ademola Lookman.
Who is this Lookman guy?
Funny story about him.
Yeah, Matt.
So this was probably 3 years ago. I think it was Fulham might have been against Everton, but Fulham drew a penalty in like the dying minutes of the game, right? Maybe dying seconds of the game. It was definitely into stoppage time. Fulham draw a penalty. Lookman goes up to take it, tries to Panenka, and Jordan Pickford is just like in shock because he just stands there and just catches it. And he's looking around like confused. It's hilarious to watch. But he's like, did you really just try to do that right now? That's all I remember from him. I know he was a work in progress at Fulham. Don't understand how he's so high on this list.
17 goals, 11 assists in all comps for Atalanta.
And they had a decent season too. I think they're back in Europe for the first time or Champions League for the first time in forever.
They were in it 2 years ago, weren't they? Didn't they made a decent run? I think they made it the second stage of the knockout or something like that. They had a deep run like 2 seasons ago.
Huh, fair enough. So skipping ahead here, I think the top 11 is where things get interesting. Phil Foden's number 11. I've seen a lot of City fans commenting that Cole Palmer is a better player than Phil Foden. Did Phil Foden have a better season than the winger for the English champions?
I think he had the better season because I think he won. Did he win Young Player of the Year over Palmer? He won something over Palmer. So he won that one somehow. I think that's City bias. And then I think he's so high on this list because he was kind of, again, the Bukayo Saka, the mainstay, kind of the focal point of the England team during Euros. But everybody was calling for him to be benched and for Cole Palmer to play. He didn't do anything. He was just constantly shit during the Euros. That's the only thing, is that he's with England, he's with City. He had a decent season for City. Like, I'm not knocking that. He had a pretty decent season, but I don't think he had a better season than Palmer overall.
I think Palmer earned a lot of his accolades this year against the bias. Like Palmer balled out, and to everyone's surprise, the three of us included. I don't think anyone in the world thought that he was going to have a breakout season. He did. I just think like there's probably going to be an overcorrect in next year's Ballon d'Or for it. Like, he's probably going to take 8th next year, which he might deserve. He might not, right? Like, there's going to be some like rubber banding on this. Is my anticipation. We think about like guys like Jorginho. Did he deserve 3rd when he won it? Got that far? Probably not. But like, there's just some of these kind of freak things, and I do think Chelsea taking 6th doesn't help anything. That they're going to look at your team's performance and being a focal point on teams like City that win everything versus being the best player. Chelsea, like, they're going to weight them differently. Fair or not, they're going to do that.
So next up on the list is Harry Kane. I would say Harry Kane deserves to be ahead of him. Harry Kane broke all kinds of Bundesliga records, right? Played for, well, they didn't win the Bundesliga, but they were competing for it. Tony Kroos at 9. It's hard to knock a veteran, right? Especially a guy like Kroos. Lamine Yamal. This was kind of a pre-pod, a little bit of a debate here. Palmer or Yamal, who would you take at number 8?
Palmer. I don't think it's even a question. I think you've got La Liga, so he's with Barcelona, so you're expanding it to La Liga. And I know Danny Almos is on there too, but you look at La Liga, and then you also look at Spain and how they did in the Euros. You take all that into account, and yes, Lamine Yamal had what, two big goals, one or two, something like that. You
That
look at
scored in the semifinal against France.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if that one single moment is what propelled him to be at that. Like with the way that we're looking at these rankings and like, how is this person so high? I could see it being a scenario like that. Yes, he's very young, he's very talented. I think that's way too high. I would even question why he's on the list to begin with.
7 goals, 9 assists, and 50 appearances.
I rest my case.
And it's weird because like, transfer market has him at 150 million euro valuation, which is again more than Cole Palmer too. Part of that I think is because he's 17 and he rose to the occasion and scored in a big moment. He set the record for youngest goal at that stage. So it's like, how much do you credit to that? How much stock do you give to that? I think it's going to play out, right? I mean, we'll see how good he is, but at some point you have to put up numbers. Like you can't just have. He has a lot of like potential energy stored up right now because he is 17 years old. He needs to convert that and put the ball in the net. Until he does that, like we'll see. But he's gonna have a big number on his neck until that kind of materializes out.
Well, look at Ansu Fati. He had a similar breakout for Barcelona. Now I don't even know where the hell he is now. I know he's at
He was on loan
Brighton
last year with Everton, I thought.
Right, yeah. But yeah, running these guys into the ground young seems to be Barcelona's thing. So let me know if he breaks anywhere into the top 7 here, because from 7 up gets a little bit more defined. Lautaro Martinez at 7, Kylian Mbappe at 6, Holland at 5, Danny Carvajal at 4, Vinny, Jude, and Rodri round out the top 3.
A lot of Real Madrid up there. Danny Carvajal, I'm not sure about. Like, again, Spain. That's the only thing that I think helps him. But then that counteracts Erling Haaland, because what does he do for Norway, right? If we're looking at national teams and we're taking that into consideration, which the national thing, I don't think it should be considered, because look at somebody like a Haaland, look at somebody like a Lewandowski. Put up massive numbers during their season. That's why they're touted as some of the best in the world. It's not Lewandowski's fault that he's Polish. It's not Erling Haaland's fault that he's Norwegian. Like, what? You can't make somebody Spanish. Like, it's just the dumbest thing. I don't understand.
Unless you're French.
Well, yeah. Then everybody's French.
Yeah.
The Moselle, bonjour. Like, I just don't get how that has so much weight for some, like a Danny Carvajal, but yet has zero impact on somebody like an Erling Haaland. Like, they're just not weighted the same. And I personally don't think that they should be weighted at all. Like, your national team should not play a role in your Ballon d'Or.
See, I disagree with your assessment, just because I think that the only reason Danny Carvajal is in there is because he has national team weight. If you're weighting it, I'm just going to go out and guess it's like 60% national team, 40% club. Danny Carvajal gets on the list. Erling Haaland is putting up a 0 in the national team, and his 40% club is getting him in 5th on this list.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like national teams should just be X'd from this whole thing.
I
serves
would
no
love that.
purpose.
I just think like that is the only reason Haaland is 5th, because if Haaland played for Spain or England and he put up decent numbers or made it far in any competition, I think he'd be 1 or 2.
Yep.
Haaland had a phenomenal 23-24 season.
Well, and I think that's what propels Rodri to win it, is that he's got the Euro trophy under his belt, as well as Premier League and all that. Danny Carvajal in there as well. if you don't take into account the national teams, I think Holland goes a lot higher. Honestly, I think Vinicius probably goes a little bit higher at that point too. Yeah, no, and what sucks is I'm pretty sure I can't. We've had this debate before, but I'm pretty sure that this is a sports journalist voted on award. I don't think this is like a players voted on award, but so I think you're getting a lot of Spanish media grouping together, and a lot of those people support Real Madrid. Just going back to the Franco days and all that in Spain, that was Franco's team. So um, there's a lot of weird European politics that go into this. But let me ask you this, guys. Cole Palmer puts up similar numbers to last year. That's going to be quite the ask because those were pretty fantastic numbers. But if he does, Chelsea wins the Conference League, finishes top 4 in the Premier League. Where does Cole Palmer fit next year's?
Based on this, it depends on how England does in Euro qualifying.
That's an interesting thing. Without a big tournament, it's going to be more weighted, right? They're not going to have
you would hope.
Yeah, they're not going to have that to lean on. So there's not going to be a World Cup winner. There's not going to be a Euro winner. There's not going to be a Copa winner. Again, to my rubber banding comment, I think now that Cole's on the stage, and if he performs with the pressure on, and Chelsea, take third or whatever, like I could see him being 6th, 7th, 5th, 6th, 7th, something like that.
I would say top 5. I think there is an argument for, again, you look at like a Danny Carvajal. If you take Spain away from him, maybe he's top 20, maybe. But then you look at Cole Palmer, I think he could slot into there. He would be up in that realm with, Mbappe and, Harry Kane and whatnot. Harry Kane's going to put up crazy numbers because it's the Bundesliga and he's playing for Bayern. That's just what he's going to do. And then you look at Mbappe. Mbappe is the curious one for me because he hasn't been off to the best start with Real Madrid. So I'm curious, and actually I'm not curious. I know how it's going to go. He's a big name. He's a global superstar. He's still going to be in the top 5 somehow. Like he just still is. It's the Messi effect from, what was it, 2021? Lewandowski clearing away should have won it. It's going to be that same thing for Mbappe for a long time. He's already put himself on a global stage. He's already won. He's already won a bunch. Well, maybe not a bunch, but he's won the World Cup, so he's already on that stage. I think he's going to be a mainstay in the top 5. I think Vinny is going to be there just because of Real Madrid. Like there are just so many things that it doesn't matter what kind of season they have. It's going to be hard to knock people out of that. But if we're going based on just stats alone, I think Palmer would be top 5 if he has a very similar season to what he did last year.
Yeah, I think I would put him top 6. I don't think Rodri wins it again next year, but I think he probably stays in that top 5. Holland stays there, Vinny, Jude, all stay there. Mbappe will be, like you said, floating around. Taro Martinez, I think, is just the token Italian league player in there. But I think you can move him anywhere in the top 10 there. So if Palmer's putting up similar numbers, we win a European Cup, we finish top 4, Palmer's easily in top 6, borderline top 5 conversation.
I don't think Rodri's making it anymore, but
that's right.
Yeah.
Good call. Good call.
Yeah. He's going to be, he's rehabbing for a while, unfortunately.
But what about his performance with the national team?
Stellar. About as good as Erling Haaland's. But no, I think you drop Carvajal, you drop Rodri. Could see Palmer sliding in there just fine.
All right, one man go ahead.
I was going to say, I looked up Mbappe's stats for the year. He's played 14 games. He has 8 goals and 2 assists.
He's having it down.
La Liga, 10 games, 6 goals, 1 assist. He's playing all right, guys.
So one guy who's going to have no say in the Ballon d'Or is Erik ten Hag. He's been sacked as Manchester United manager. Word is Ruben Amorim coming in from Portugal to manage the Red Devils. And of course, wouldn't you know it, that's our opponent on the weekend. Boys, how was the new manager bounce going to affect this one between Chelsea and Man U?
I'm just going to go out there and say there is going to be none because the new manager bounce is going to be taken out on Leicester midweek. So they're going to get their win against Leicester midweek. And then Chelsea get to play a seasoned whoever the fuck you said that guy's name is. We get to play him. I could just picture Matt sending that to the group text of the classic Conor McGregor gif. So I've never heard of him. So yeah, I'm banking on the fact that we dodged the new manager bump.
I could see there still being a new manager bump, and I am unfortunately going to see the revival of Charity FC this weekend. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I could see it happening. We've been down this road a lot, surprisingly, with the new manager bounce. So I could see Charity FC striking again.
Yeah, we haven't won at Old Trafford since I think 2015 was our last win there. While they get the contract figure out with Amorim, sounds like Ruud van Nistelrooy, former Manchester United striker, is going to be the interim manager. They're announcing Tuesday who the referee is going to be for this match, and I can guarantee I know who it is. One Mr. Anthony Taylor. There's no way we are going to be allowed to ruin the new manager bounce of a recovering Manchester United with a club legend at the helm, with Anthony Taylor as referee. The streak will continue. Drop points.
I'll take it one step further. I guarantee you we get Michael Oliver on VAR.
Oh, God.
Feels like we're going up against Thanos.
Pretty much.
All right. Well, boys, there's one more topic I had, and for the life of me, I cannot remember it. Oh, I remember now. So one of the things that was reported by David Ornstein today was that over the summer, Manchester United was the shadow English club that had tried to poach Enzo Maresca prior to us signing him. So he would have been Ten Hag's replacement. Mauricio Pochettino is now out here in the U.S. losing games to Mexico. And the question was floated today by someone on Twitter who I can't credit because I don't remember who it was. Would we be in a better spot right now than, if we had Pochettino than we are at the current moment with Maresca?
What a loaded question. An impossible one to answer.
So we're saying we're comparing us with another year of Poach against Maresca at United?
Against Maresca right now with Chelsea.
Oh,
you got the split timelines.
I was gonna say that would be an even more fun question is if we still had Poach and United
had Maresca,
where would we be compared side by side? That would be a fun one.
All right, let's do a part A and part B then.
I agree with Parker. Very hard to determine. Again, we've talked about this. I'm too tired to go to war over this one. I think that there was a lot of positives being built at the end of Chelsea last season. I think if you look at the games, you look at the results, we were trending in the right way. Was it a little too much too late? So we'll never know. I think we were trending the right way. I think with some of the new signings that we have, if those signings even come to be, right? Because those might have been Maresca signings, they might not have fit with Poach and what he was trying to do. We don't know, but if you look at it side by side, I think I would take. Well, looking at it now, yes, I'll take Maresca because we're sitting really good in the Premier League, but I don't think we would be far off from where we are now with Maresca. I don't think we would be far off. I would say maybe 4 points.
The results that we've gotten under Maresca, none of them have like really shocked me. The games that I feel like we should have won, we won. The losses that we have, we lost to City, we lost to Liverpool. 2 of the draws are kind of meh draws with Forest and Palace, I think. So when I look at the results that we've had, I haven't seen Maresca like steal from the depths a game that I didn't think we should have won or could have won. So yeah, I believe Poch could have had the same start, like the exact same start that Maresca could have had. I think all the games that we've had, line them up one by one, I think Poch could have gotten the exact same results for us in a different timeline. No problem.
See, I think Maresca's man management and load management far outweigh anything that Poch did last year. I don't think he would have managed this squad the same way. I think he would have bitched and moaned about how large the squad is and then played the same guys week in and week out. So I give credits to Maresca. I think he does a great job rotating the squad. I think he does a great job with his substitutions. His tactics seem to be on point. then, Matt, 4 points extrapolated over the course of the season. Now, we're about a quarter of the way in. That's a 16-point gap from Maresca to Potch. That's a pretty big gap. I'll take Maresca all day, every day. Now, back to your other question. How do you think Man U stacks up if they have Maresca from the start of the year?
I don't think United have a team. If Maresca is willing to just freeze out a bunch of our starters and a bunch of our kind of anchors that we had last season, I don't know who makes it on the starting 11 for United. I really don't.
Kieran Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah, and he would still ride the bench for probably 50 mil. But I just don't. I think Maresca knew the situation that he was getting, and when he came to Chelsea, he saw the talent that was there and available, and the project that we being, bullying and company, he saw what we were trying to do and what he had to work with. He knew that we weren't afraid to spend if we needed to get the right pieces in. United have not done a great job of spending historically, and I don't necessarily know that ownership really wants to keep going down that road of splashing a lot of cash on one or two players only to have it kind of fail. I don't think they've adopted a model that's sustainable for what Maresca would need to do in order to be successful. That being said, the tactics and everything, I think Poach would be in a better spot with Chelsea than Maresca would be with United. And that is nothing. I don't think that has anything to do with the coaching. I just think that has to do with the quality of players at each manager's disposal.
I think that sums up real nice, actually. I don't really have much to add to that.
Yeah, I think Chelsea and United are about level in that scenario. Yeah, I think Maresca, Manchester United have scored what, like 6 goals in the Premier League this year? 7, something like that. That's a terrible number, but Maresca ball seems to have a bunch of goals in it. I would trust him to figure out Rashford. Sancho would still be there. Antony is probably frozen out, I would hope. I think Man U has goals in them that have not been unlocked. Matt, I like your evaluation of Poch being 4 points off of Maresca. That would put Chelsea at about 13 points right now. I think Maresca gives United about 4 points, putting them at 14. So they're probably neck and neck in the table from in that hypothetical situation. All right. Well, on that wonderful note, that wraps up another week of the Flag Stays Down podcast. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to follow us on social media at Flag Down Pod. Boys, any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts is this will be goodbye for a bit, boys. We'll join you up when I can, but going to take some time off of everything and focus on the main important things. So I wish you boys well on the pod. I'll still be available via group chat. You can use my quotes to share with the listeners there. But this is goodbye for a bit. So take care of her. Take care of the flag stays down for us. And we'll see you soon.
Well, I can't promise you anything with the way that Collins and I go back and forth, but we'll damn sure do our best.
Just remember to hit record.
Yeah. Touche.
Just send us that Sunday night text that says record, and we'll know.
Exactly. If you expect me to remember anything, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
I do expect you to be up at all hours, so enjoy your sleep while you can.
Yes,
I will.
All right. Well, till next week, Matt.
Yes. Parks, best of luck with everything. Hope everything goes well, and we're excited for you and the missus, and can't wait to meet the little ones. We're with you, buddy.
Thanks, boys.
Amen.